Oh, could the staff please bring Dale Blosser in as a panelist, sorry. So he can be available to testify when needed. That's Dale Blosser.
Who is he?
Completed.
He's with the, he would be the consultant working with the hotel,
Oh,
the auditing agency. Jim, I see you're logged in twice. You're muted.
Really? That's cool. I wonder who the other me is.
One just disappeared, yeah.
Isn't one of Jim enough?
Really? Is one of me ever enough?
Boy, we've doubled our attendees today. This is great. I wonder why.
No, Jim is still listed twice, huh?
That's how you double the attendees right there.
Would you like me to eject one?
I'm, oh, there we go, Catherine's here. So I think we have a quorum. Oh, there was Brian. Okay, so we have at least 5.
Mary, would you like me to remove the other James Mayhew?
It's up to you. I don't know if it creates a problem or not. It's totally up to you.
Go ahead. Go
Just have to
ahead.
figure out
And
which-
then if anything happens, I'll log back in.
Do we get the
just
vote
figure
on
out
which
which
one?
one's the real.
The real James Mayhew had his video up and speaking. The other one
There you
was
go. Yep.
muted and not.
Maybe we'll call the real Jim Shady. Bob Jeans won't get that reference.
Okay, we have a quorum of the city council gathered. It is now 7 p.m. So I will officially call the Snoqualmie City Council meeting to order and ask Jody please to take the roll call.
Very good. Councilmember James,
here.
Councilmember Ross,
Here.
Councilmember Holloway,
Here.
Councilmember Mayhew,
Here.
Councilmember Lefebvre,
Here.
Councilmember Sundwall.
Here.
Councilmember Shepherd. Councilmember Shepherd. And Mayor Larson.
I am here. Thank you, Jody. May I please have a motion and a second to excuse Councilmember Shepherd from tonight's meeting, council?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to excuse Councilmember Shepherd. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. All right, motion is carried. With that, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented tonight?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Mayhew.
Yeah, I move that we bring Agenda Bill 20-116 forward and combine it with the public hearing on the proposed major modification in light of attendees who I believe are here for that topic.
Okay. All right, motion and a second to make as amended by Councilmember Mayhew. Any further discussion on that item? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. All right, motion is carried. Any other items?
Hello?
Oh, for the record, Councilmember Shepherd just arrived.
Yes, I would like to make changes to the agenda.
Go ahead. Or
Okay,
remove the warrants.
remove the warrants, and I'd also like to add a discussion about the trucks or the truck pathways through the city.
All right, the warrants, since consent agenda only requires one member to remove that, that's up to you. As far as adding the truck conversation, I'll leave it to the majority of the council. If you could just move to add that item to the, I assume, a discussion or committee of the whole, go ahead and make the motion.
Yes, I'd like to move to add discussion about trucks coming through the city to committee of the whole.
All right, I'll wait for a second. All right, not hearing a second, the motion dies for lack of a second. Any other items for the agenda, council? or any other modifications or additions, deletions? All right, so with those two items, removing the warrants and moving Agenda Bill 2116 up to the top with the public hearing, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, motion is carried. So with that, we'll move on to public hearings, presentations, proclamations, and appointments. And it gives me a great pleasure this time to turn it over to Deputy Chief Mike Bailey to recognize some exemplary conduct and response by a few of our firefighters. So Deputy Chief Bailey, if you could come on or turn your video on and unmute and help us recognize these firefighters. I see Mike is here. Mike, if you could unmute and turn on your video, please. Okay, you got that. Video's on. I'll give it another 20 seconds or so here. Otherwise, Chief Kerr, I might ask you to jump in if you're prepared to do the same. Mike, if you could figure out a way to unmute your microphone. Or Kevin, could you check on that too? It might be that Mike's trying to unmute it and it's not. If maybe you could take a look at that and unmute it for him.
Let me try it. Hold on.
All right, Chief Kerr, you want to jump in, or do you have the names and I think that you've got the information necessary to say some words?
I actually don't have the details of the incident, Mayor. Deputy Chief Bailey has all of that right now.
All right, let's do this. Let's go on with public hearings and then we'll remind me, Chief, if I forget and start moving on to at the end of that, we'll come back to Mike and hopefully we'll have that muting and microphone resolved by then. Or
That
you
sounds
can,
great, thanks.
or he could perhaps quickly email you the information. If you guys could email that. Meanwhile, we'll just go on with the public hearings. All right, so at this point, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone can hear the banging gavel for the utility rates that's now open. So I would welcome any member of the public to comment on this year's utility rates. It's a 6-year rate going up about proposed for 0% increase for next year with just over 3% for the subsequent years following that. I do have one hand. If Kevin, if you could please unmute Tanya Lavoie to allow her 3 minutes to speak.
Mr. Lavoie, if you'd please unmute.
Yeah, she's unmuted now. Tanya, we should be able to hear you now if you want to go
Okay.
ahead.
Tanya Lavoie, 34414 Southeast Cochrane Street. First of all, I would like to thank the council for taking into account the differing economic circumstances of folks in response to this pandemic and by waiting a year to implement the increase. And I would also like to encourage the council to really take another look at our current reduced rate programs and look at the ways that we could strengthen that, both in terms of potentially expanding eligibility and also increasing public awareness of it and potentially streamlining the process for both application and for renewal of eligibility so that we ensure that as many of our residents that are eligible for that are able to really make use of it. And that I know that there's been some discussion of potential other social equity lens to take on those rates. And that would also fully support that. And would also really caution you to be wary of rate changes that might put additional burden on families that are larger, and that there's other ways to potentially to get at conservation concerns rather than a complete shift in our rate structure. So I'm in support of their current plan and really encourage those potential changes. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lavoie. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at this time during the public hearing? All right, again, for those that a number have figured it out, in the center of your screen at the bottom should be a little hand to raise as an attendee. If you hit on that, your little hand will go up and that'll indicate to me that you'd like to speak. So, all right, I don't see anyone else at this time. So with that, the public hearing is now closed. Next, we are now opening a public hearing regarding the proposed major modification of the development agreement between the City of Snoqualmie and Chennai Hospitality LLC. This is a quasi-judicial land use matter and is now open. Now, this is going to be a little more of a complicated process because, as I noted, this is a quasi-judicial, which means it's almost like an issue becoming before a judge and a jury, and the council in this case is the jury. And so they have to be careful that any correspondence or influence of their decision on this has to be all open and on the record. So any correspondence they receive from the public must be disclosed and so forth. So what we're going to do is start with, I'll ask the city attorney to just go through with all the council members an appearance of fairness protocols. And then we will ask if there's any member of the public, if they would want to challenge any of the decision makers, if they feel that they are not able to be objective in their decisions regarding this matter. So, and then just so the folks know the rest of it, we will then invite, or I'll invite a staff presentation of about 10 minutes or less, and then an opportunity for some quick clarifications from the council, from the staff. Then the applicant will be given 10 minutes, and then we'll open it to the public for 3 minutes each, although the number is growing to 18. So if everyone here about the hotel, I might have to truncate that to maybe 2.5 minutes. Otherwise, we'll be here for an hour just on this issue. And then provide another brief 3 minutes for applicant rebuttal. It's likely we'll be going into an executive session on this issue and then coming back to council deliberations and maybe consideration of another special meeting later this week to take up the deliberations on this, given we have a full agenda. Councilmember Ross, I do see you. I just wanted to outline the protocols here before coming to you. Go ahead.
I think Ann Gigi was in the attendees. Maybe she was just moved over.
If she was, I'm sure the staff will grab her. I don't see her there anymore. So
He left.
I think she might have left. I don't see her on either side of it. So anyway, I'll turn it over to Bob Sturbank to go ahead and queue up the public hearing here. And Bob, if you could address the appearance of fairness issues and a potential challenge.
I'm sorry, Mayor. Bob Sturbank was on the other James Mayhew account that was rejected. He's having trouble rejoining.
Oh, okay. Wow. Anna's not here by chance, is she? Otherwise, I'm gonna have to fumble my way through.
Mayor, just a point, she was as an attendee, but before she was promoted to panelist, she dropped off. She's experiencing some difficulties. I'm helping her with another link right now. She should be on momentarily.
Sorry, Mark, to clarify, I'm our assistant city attorney. I would rather have an attorney doing the appearance of fairness. Councilor Mayhew, go ahead.
Yeah, do you think I need to drop off of this so that he can connect?
No, sir. He won't be able to reuse your link, so I sent him his own, and that
Okay.
link is also giving him trouble. So.
All right. So maybe I'll just
I've
kind of
just rejoined.
Oh,
Mayor,
very
I've
good.
rejoined by telephone.
Yeah, very good, Bob. I don't know if you heard any of that. If you could, at this point, I'd just like you to go through the appearance of fairness protocols and then invite anyone from the public to challenge any of the decision makers or the quasi-judicial decision makers, if you'd like.
Certainly. Thank you, Mayor. And please let me know if any of this becomes difficult to hear. So for members of the public, the appearance of fairness doctrine is a doctrine that evolved in Washington through judicial opinions. It's now codified in state law in statute, specifically Chapter 42.36 of the Revised Code of Washington. Specifically, it prohibits ex parte or off-the-record communications between decision makers and proponents or opponents of a project. And if such conversations occur, the council members must place the substance of the communications on the record, and a public announcement must be made of the content of the communication and of the party's rights to rebut the substance of the communication at the hearing where action is considered or taken on the subject to which the communication related. So, for example, if a council member runs into a constituent at the grocery store and the person begins to advocate a position about Chennai Hospitality's requested amendment to the development agreement, that would be an ex parte conversation. Or if a person emails a council member about the agreement amendment, or vice versa, the council member emails a third party about the amendment, that would also be an ex parte conversation. I will note here that public comments that have been submitted to the city on the proposed amendment, while this record is open, those have been communicated to the council and to the city clerk. They are part of the record. So those are not what we're speaking of here. Those have already been provided to the applicant, but we're talking about otherwise off the record or private communications. The appearance of fairness doctrine also encompasses more general concerns about the impartiality of the decision makers or potential bias. So, for example, absent disclosure on the record of the communications, the case law and MRSC publications provide that the remedy for potential violations of the doctrine is for a decision maker to recuse him or herself, and they should then leave the room and not participate in the proceeding in any way. So to the mayor's request, I'll be polling council members here with a set of specific questions so that any disclosures concerning ex parte communications or other appearance of fairness doctrine issues can be made. And then the parties and members of the public will then have an opportunity to object to council member participation based on the disclosures. So I will jump into those questions now, and I will read the question and then poll the council members individually, which I'm going to try to do here since I don't have folks on the screen. Mayor, please help me if I miss anyone. So question number one is, do you have any interest in any of the property that is the subject of the proceeding? For example, do you own any interest or share in the property that Chennai Hospitality proposes to utilize? It's known as Lot 20 of the Snoqualmie Business Park or the Hampton Inn and Suites. Or do you own any membership or shares in the applicant's business, that's Chennai Hospitality LLC, or any interest in a contract to purchase? Going down the list there, Councilmember Jeans.
No.
Councilmember Shepherd.
No.
Councilmember Lassay.
No.
Councilmember Sundwall.
No, I do have a question though. Does membership in the Hilton Rewards program count?
I do not, that is not what this is aimed at specifically, provided, do you believe that you can decide impartially, notwithstanding your interest in the rewards program?
I do, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Ross?
No.
Councilmember Mayhew?
No.
Councilmember Holloway?
No.
Did I get all seven, Mayor?
I believe so. Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Going to the next question, do you stand to gain or lose by virtue of your decision on the development agreement amendment? Councilmember Jeans. Councilmember Jeans, can you hear me?
I can now, sorry. No.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Shepherd.
No.
Councilmember Lassay.
No.
Councilmember Sundwall.
No.
Councilmember Ross.
No.
Councilmember Mayhew.
No.
Councilmember Holloway.
No.
Are you employed by or do you have any prospective employment with Chennai Hospitality or any of their businesses associated with them? For example, Mr. Blosser, their experts consulting business. Councilmember Jeans.
No.
Councilmember Lassay.
No.
Councilmember Shepherd.
No.
Councilmember Ross.
No.
Councilmember Sundwall.
No.
Councilmember Mayhew.
No.
Councilmember Holloway.
No.
Do you have any relationships that materially affect your ability to impartially decide the matter? For example, do you have any family, social, or associational relationships with either the applicant or its attorney or persons or organizations who either support or are opposed to the proposed development agreement amendment? Councilmember Jeans?
No.
Councilmember Lassay?
I've previously had conversations with the former development director of the hotel, Sung Choi, but those conversations have never involved the decision we were discussing today.
Okay, and we are about, in the next question, we'll get to communication specifically, so we'll come back to that. This is more about the relationships that you might have, memberships, or family or social or other relationships.
Then that would be a no.
Okay, Councilmember Sundwall?
No.
Councilmember Ross?
No.
Councilmember Mayhew?
No.
Councilmember Holloway?
No.
You didn't ask
And
me.
then the last question, I'm sorry, Councilmember Shepherd.
No.
Thank you for. Last question, have you had any oral or written ex parte communications with the applicant or any opponents or proponents of the proposed development agreement amendment? And if so, could you please disclose those communications at this time and summarize their general content or substance? Councilmember Jeans?
No.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes. My husband has been active on Facebook and posted that we're going to have a public hearing today. And he has shared some of I guess the number of people who have a certain opinion about it, but the content is basically what's been shared by email to the council. So there's no new points that have been made that we aren't already aware of.
So, but the communications to council, are you referring to the emails that have been received today by council members and then by the city clerk?
Correct.
Okay. And I will circle, well, actually, yeah, I will circle back to this. We'll go through the rest of the council members and then provide a rebuttal opportunity so the applicant may want to be thinking about that, those communications. So Councilmember Shepherd, Councilmember Lassay, and I can repeat the question if needed.
No, it's okay. I remember the question. And as I said, I've previously spoken with the development director for the hotel when it was built. But again, that was not regarding the current action in front of us, and only during the course of my work as an architect. But other than that, no, I have not had any ex parte communication with folks.
And so just to be clear, with regard to the timing, these are communications that occurred during the time period that the hotel was being built or proposed to be built, as opposed to within the last 6 months?
That's correct. It was while the hotel was being built, and then shortly thereafter it was finished.
Okay.
But not during the time at which we've had discussions since February.
And so did the communications have anything to do with potentially changing the portion of the development agreement that required a 20-year franchise with Hampton Inn and Suites?
No, they did not.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Sundwall.
Question, this would include responding to any of those emails, correct?
Correct.
So my answer is no. That was just clarifying for others, perhaps.
Right. So, for example, an email comes in, if a recipient of the email then responds and has a additional email conversation with the person who initiated the exchange, yes, that's within the scope of the question.
My answer is no.
Right. So, and your answer is no. All right. Thank you, Councilmember Ross.
My answer is no. Yeah, and I have a concern right now because Ann Gigi is not on. She was on twice and it seems like I don't think she's on anywhere. So can maybe Mr. Hoffman reach out to her so that she can be part of this?
I continue to reach out to her. She was in a mode called monitoring, could not be heard I keep sending her the link and I keep trying.
Okay.
We're communicating by email.
Okay. Going on down the list, Council Member Mayhew.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, Mr. Sturbank?
Absolutely. Have you had any oral or written ex parte communications with the applicant or any opponents or proponents of the development agreement amendment that's before the council? And if so, could you please disclose those communications at this time and summarize their substance?
So there were a number of emails that I received over the last several days. Each of those I forwarded to you previously, and it appears that all of those were forwarded on by you to the full council, so you appear to be aware of those.
Yes.
Then I have a question for you. I have observed, but not participated in some discussions, some community discussion occurring online. Is that within the scope of your question? Should I disclose that?
Yes, it would be fair to disclose that.
All right. I observed an article in the Living Snoqualmie blog, which simply discussed the fact that this hearing would be happening tonight and gave some information about it. But then there was a long series of comments by those both for and against the proposal. Similarly, that was picked up in a Facebook group that I read, and there was a discussion by both proponents and opponents there as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I am Mr. Hoffman. Is Miss Giggy yet in attendance?
No, sir. I believe we're close though.
Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
There we go.
Yes.
You can.
Is this Ann Giggy?
Hallelujah. This is Ann Giggy. Sorry, I'm not registering anywhere as a panelist or an attendee. I hear you all, but I didn't think you could hear me.
You came in, you're Mark Hoffman right now, or another version of Mark Hoffman.
Wow.
Better version, I'm sure.
All right, we'll aim to fix that.
I am sorry. This has been a challenge for me, and I'm sure it is for you as well.
All right, Ann, if you have not been able to hear, I'm not sure when you were able to join. I just finished polling council members about ex parte communications and other appearance of fairness doctrine matters. Two council members indicated being aware of or having read electronic communications. Councilmember Shepherd indicated her awareness of communications her husband has had with people who, it sounds like mostly or exclusively, are opposed to the project. She indicated the general content was the same as those emails that were received by the council today, and I believe the batches of those were transmitted to you by the clerk or Mr. Hoffman. So that's one set, and then sorry.
Point of clarification. I believe Councilmember Shepherd forwarded information to her husband that was provided to council. Is that a true statement, Peggy, or not?
That's not, no.
Okay. I wanted to make clear. I heard it the other way. All right.
No, he's not interested.
Neither's my wife.
Well, perhaps so that I don't re-summarize it, Councilmember Shepherd, now that Ms. Giggy is on the line, the applicant, I believe, will be the primary party interested in the opposing comments. Could you please summarize again the content of the communications that you were identifying?
Yeah, my husband has posted, and I don't actually use Living Snoqualmie or the Ridge Facebook group. So I'm hearing it secondhand about what the activity is, but he posted, I think somewhere, I'm not sure where, just the fact that we're having a public hearing today. And he's, sharing both pros and cons, but the pieces that I can recall of what he mentioned to me are more than covered by all the emails that the council has received. There's really no new content as far as what was described. So that's my ex parte communication, if you will, about this.
Okay. And Councilmember Shepherd, were his communications that you referred to, were they soliciting input or opposition or support for the proposal?
No. We don't.
Okay.
Hey, Bob,
Yes.
is speaking and sharing opinions with, and this isn't just about Councilmember Shepherd, but doing that with a spouse or significant other appropriate?
It is an ex parte communication that would fall within the ambit of the prohibition and would require disclosure, especially if there is, feedback coming from the spouse. Many folks probably do receive feedback from their spouses on certain things. So, but if that's communication and potentially influences the decision, then yes, it should be disclosed.
Bob, I'm aware of 4 social media or online considerable threads of conversation about the project. One was the post by Peggy's husband, Richard Shield, of which he expressed his strong opposition a few times in this thread on the post. There were some 150 responses, both pro and con, somewhat equally. And so that's perhaps something we need to capture, but I'm also aware, I believe that the applicant was made aware of that, or I made the applicant aware of that thread so they could go out and read through it as well and be aware of it. The Living Snoqualmie was the other one, and directly on the Living Snoqualmie page, there were a number of responses. Then Living Snoqualmie has a Facebook page where that article subsequently gets posted on their Facebook page, and that's a third, iteration of conversation from the public. And then the fourth was another gentleman took the Living Snoqualmie post and posted it on the Snoqualmie Ridge site as Richard Shield did. And there was another 150 comments on that one too from various members, many of the same members of the public on that thread as well. So, but I think in 3 of those cases, the applicant was aware of those conversations, was in fact responded to a few of them. And so I'd have to defer to them as to whether they feel they were fairly cognizant of all of those, because we certainly did not receive written emails and conversations that captured anywhere near all of those online comments.
All right, thank you, Mayor. And yeah, to my knowledge, that those, other than emails that were submitted, if the writers of those posts did not submit, then the city does not have those comments of record. Ms. Gigi, Councilmember Mayhew did mention having read one of those 2 sets of Living Snoqualmie posting, I believe the article and the comments that went with it. So I guess with those disclosures, I would offer the applicant an opportunity to rebut at this time.
Bob, I need to state for the record, I have not had communications other than the emails sent to me that I sent to you, which is in the public record now. And I did read the Living Snoqualmie article and the comments, but that is it from me.
Okay.
You didn't ask me.
All right.
Brian.
Thank you for the.
Councilor Ross.
So
That's right. I'm sorry, but Councilmember Holloway, thank you. We were with getting Ms. Gigi on the line. I had not completed asking you this question, so thank you for jumping in.
Understood.
Was there anyone else that Bob had missed? All right, go ahead, Councilor Ross.
So right now we're only talking about the First Amendment for a hotel for Chennai hospitality. But in the past, in 2017, a person that was not a council member at that point did get up and present 45 minutes on why there should not be a hotel. And so is this part of this? Should that be considered?
Well, that may get to a question as in terms of whether participation at this point, based on past opposition, is appropriate. But at this point, we wanted to get this disclosure of the communications on the record, which has just occurred, and then offer an opportunity to rebut those communications. So, Councilmember Ross, if you could just hold off for one moment, I would, Mayor, if I may, turn to the applicant at this point and ask if they wish to rebut any of the statements that have been disclosed so far.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sturbank. First, could you confirm that you can hear me okay?
It's a little choppy, but we can hear you. Kevin.
I apologize for the connection.
Or Ann, if I could ask Kevin or some of the staff to send you a fresh link. I think the one Mark gave you was a copy of his own. So if they could send you a fresh invitation, maybe look for that and we can get you more clearly on here. Go ahead, though, Ann.
That would be very helpful.
Ms. Gigi, you should have received one about 10 minutes ago from Snoqualmie webinar.
Ann?
No email from Snoqualmie Weather. May have gone into a spam.
Probably understandable enough. Why don't we move forward? It's already 35 after the hour.
Yeah. And give Kevin just confirm he has the right email address, please. Just give it to him real quick and then proceed.
ANN.GYGI@hcmp.com.
All right. And Mark Hoffman, if you could send it to Kevin too, just make sure that he can triple check that. All right, go ahead, Ann. Let's proceed best we can until perhaps you receive that new link.
Okay, it's very concerning when a member of the council and their spouse are exchanging information with opponents to the project. I would consider this a very difficult situation for us to feel that we're having a free and unbiased decision from that council member. I don't think the question is whether the applicant saw the emails that were exchanged, but rather what is the mindset and the opinion of the council member, and can they be an unbiased decision maker?
Are there any specific communications or the content of any, Ms. Gigi, of which you're aware or that the applicant is aware that you would like to offer rebuttal to at this point? That's the step of it at which we are in the proceeding, and the next step will be for the mayor to ask either the applicant or members of the public whether they wish to challenge the participation of any council member based on the disclosures. But at this point, is there any specific rebuttal that you would like to offer, or do you plan to just offer rebuttal and content in the applicant's presentation as part of the public hearing?
We will do the latter, but the one thing I would like to rebut are some comments that we've seen regarding that the hotel without a franchise will be an undesirable component of the community and perhaps a safety problem. And we have seen comments to that effect.
Yeah, and I'll give you an opportunity later in the process or the public hearing. Again, you probably missed it, but the protocol will be appearance of fairness. I will offer anyone to challenge any member in terms of their objectivity. If you wish to ask someone to recuse themselves or any of the council members, then we will move on to staff presentation and give a quick Q&A from the council. You'll have 10 minutes to present. The public then will be given the number and the time and the agenda, probably 2 minutes each to give their responses. And then you'll be given 3 minutes or so to rebut any of those public comments. It's very likely we will be going into an executive session to address issues, legal issues. The council will certainly have questions about this in terms of exposure, either way. And also if there's a request for recusal, to address that as well. And then we'll come out for regular council deliberations, which would probably almost immediately involve consideration of a special council meeting on Wednesday or Thursday of this week to address this issue more fully, given its complexity and the length of it. So, Councilmember Sunwell, you had a quick question?
Yeah, Ms. Gigi had, Ann, were you talking about a specific council member in general, or I didn't hear, just want to make sure if that's me or whatever. Was there a specific council member you're referring to about concerns?
What I heard was that Councilmember Shepherd and her husband were exchanging emails and soliciting comments on the proposal from a crowd of largely Snoqualmie Ridge members and perhaps largely unfavorably disposed members of the public.
All right.
I will say, Ann, that if you're going to do your 10-minute presentation, you got to find a better connection. It's okay for the onesie-twosie sentences, but we definitely want to hear everything clearly.
Ann, are you still not getting able
Yes,
to?
thank you.
Are you still not getting?
I have to leave the meet. I will have to leave the meeting to try the new connection, or there'll be a feedback issue. So I thought perhaps at his executive session before the presentation.
I suppose we could do that. Bob, do you see any issues with I think the question, well,
we need the information.
Well, Mayor, if you wanted to take a brief recess to allow folks who are having connection difficulties, maybe that is an appropriate way to deal with this. The other is, do you want to complete the appearance of fairness protocol, which is the last step of which is for you to invite, per the council rules, for you to invite challenges to any participation and see if we can resolve those.
Right. Yeah, let's do. I'm just gonna call a short recess of a couple of minutes here, and let's have you log off and try to log back on. So we'll just do a short recess if folks just want to mute and hold off for the moment. And oh my God.
Mr. Sturbank, you are unmuted.
Folks might want to mute in case they say or do anything they don't want to be online. Mr. Blosser, you might want to mute. Kevin, can you just mute everybody and then we'll just have them unmuted once the meeting comes back in session?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Kevin, I assume you're watching carefully for Ann trying to log back in.
Yes, Mayor, we're working on it now.
All right, thank you.
Not sure why it would be a link issue. Seems like a connection issue to me.
Yeah.
Word of note to other council members, I got a USB dongle to get me Ethernet wired into my router. which seemed to resolve a lot of the network issues.
You just wanted to say the word dongle.
All right.
Can you see and hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh,
So-
thank you so much. I'm so sorry. What a,
Sorry, we didn't get that cleaned up earlier, Ann. So thanks. Okay, so we'll call the Snoqualmie City Council meeting back into session. Go ahead, Ann. Or Bob. Bob, go ahead and wrap it up. Bob Sturbank, you're muted if you're trying to talk.
Hey, Mayor, while he's getting on, I feel like there are a lot of caveats added by questions by me and others that I almost feel like this question needs to be asked of everybody again. I mean, the simple thing like responding to emails that wasn't disclosed up front, or talking with spouses or significant others. I feel like we got through halfway before that issue was brought up. I just wonder if it might be worthwhile to ask everyone the question again, since we have so much time.
All right, I'll defer to Bob on that. Bob, you're unmuted, but we're not.
Can you hear me, Mayor?
Yes, we can. Okay, please proceed.
All right. Yeah, I'm happy to ask the question again and poll council members. And then following that, if there aren't additional disclosures, then would be time for you to invite potential challenges if there are any. So the question is, have you had any oral or written ex parte communications with the applicant or any opponents or proponents of the proposed development agreement amendment? And that would include family members, spouses, friends, acquaintances, whomever. If so, please disclose those communications at this time and summarize their substance. Councilmember Jeans.
Yes, I've spoken to my wife. We speak generally about these things. She's made no recommendation as to what I should do, how I should vote. So it's that's the extent of it.
Councilmember Lassay.
Let's see, I received, if this is the email question, I've received numerous emails and forwarded ones that I had received that weren't part of the record that was distributed. I've not spoken with my spouse, to her endless consternation of not being able to talk to me about this. And other than that, I have not spoken with any applicant or opponent, proponent, or otherwise.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes, I spoke to my husband. I have not gone to any Facebook or about this topic or living Snoqualmie. And the conversation is, in general, he likes Hampton Inn. That's pretty much covers it.
And did he share with you or others share with you their postings to any of the social media pages that have covered this that the mayor described earlier?
No.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Sundwall.
No.
Councilmember Ross.
I have mentioned it to my husband because it would be after a community development meeting. He'll say, "What did you talk about tonight?" And I said, "Oh, one of the things was the hotel." And then we would turn on TV and watch Space Force. So there really wasn't any like comments, positive or negative, about it. I will state, I did see on maybe the Snoqualmie Ridge page, there was some comments about utility rates. And I think that was the most of the gist of what that whole feed was about. But then it interspersed through there was some hotel comments. So most of it was utility rates. That is it.
Did the space bar
Okay,
show
thank
have a
you.
hotel in it?
You know what?
Just kidding. Just
He was asking whether the show you watched had a hotel in it, but I think he was kidding, not being able to see him. Councilmember Mayhew.
I received a number of emails from residents, which I forwarded on, and I believe were part of the packet of emails sent back out to all council members by either the city, I think by the city clerk or by you. I observed the comments under the Living Snoqualmie blog regarding this topic, and also observed comments on a Facebook group discussion regarding this. I concur with the mayor's characterization that there were comments both for and against, which covered the same arguments for and against that were in the various letters, emails that the council has received. There was nothing additional in there that I noted that wasn't also in one or more of the emails that we received.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Holloway.
Again, the emails I have, I forwarded to you. I'm part of the public record. I did read this Living Snoqualmie article and the comments therein. My wife did approach me to presumably inform me of my opinion on the matter. I advised her on this singular matter that was not allowed.
All right, thank you. All right, Mayor, based on that, it does not appear there are any additional communications that the substance of which would require an opportunity for rebuttal. So at this time, it'd be appropriate for you under the rules of procedure to invite challenges, if there are any, to participation by any individual council members based either on the disclosures or on if there are challenges generally to partiality or bias, which are also covered by the appearance of fairness doctrine. Now would be the time to invite such challenges.
All right, thank you, Bob. I would just also clarify from my observations that there was a mix of positive and negative comments, often in equal measure. In fact, on the Snoqualmie, Living Snoqualmie blog, they were probably tipped a little more positive, more negative on some of the Facebook or social media. But again, a mix of what I did note was of the letters submitted, those were almost predominantly negative, as often follows the rule that people that are happy with the situation or don't have complaints don't often take the time to write a letter or come down to council. So I only mention that in case the council, if it does choose to do another meeting, we could probably make the effort to capture those strings and put them, enter them into the record for your benefit. So with that, Ann, and to those you represent, I've offered an opportunity at this time to rebut or to challenge any of the council members who are part of the quasi-judicial decision, or are you comfortable with all those making the decision that they are able to be impartial and objective?
Well, it's a two-part question. I'm not going to object or rebut any of the disclosures that were made regarding current comments. I will reiterate the choppy comment that I made previously, that it is very challenging for an applicant to feel that they are getting a fair and impartial hearing, when it includes a council member who, on a prior event regarding the same project, was a vocal and adamant opponent of that project and was attended, I believe I did see an email characterization of attended some 15 or more meetings soliciting additional opponents and speaking against the project at a variety of public meetings, planning commission, council, etc. So we do have concerns about council member Shepherd. She is the person previous to being on council, so nothing against people being opponents or proponents of a project, but it's just I do challenge whether she can be a fair and impartial decision maker on this application.
So Bob, is that a formal request to recuse?
I thought that's what I heard. The question, I think clarification would go to Ms. Gigi, but I believe I heard her say she challenges whether Councilmember Shepherd can be fair and impartial. Are you challenging Councilmember Shepherd's participation, Ms. Gigi?
Yes, I would characterize that as a request to recuse.
All right, thank you for the clarification. Councilmember Sunwell.
Is it only the proponent of the product that's allowed to make such a request?
No, any member of the public can make a request.
Correct.
Bob was going to say something.
No, that's what I was going to say. We're talking here, this protocol is outlined in Council Rule of Procedure 9.3.4.1. And this is the time under the rule where the mayor can ask if any person wishes to make an appearance of fairness challenge to any council member.
So I too would also like to challenge Councilmember Shepherd's participation. I know there were two other council members who the topic was at least brought up, but neither of those spouses are active opponents or proponents of the project. And I think that there's virtually no way that this has not affected or emboldened her opinion on the matter. And in my understanding of how this works, that's simply not fair, one way or the other.
All right, Councilmember Holloway.
So I guess I too challenge Councilmember Shepherd participation. She's been a long-standing opponent of the hotel, has made public comments into postings, some which were cited out by others as discriminatory. I apologize to the applicant for those. That does not represent the council, but I challenge her participation and do not believe she can be impartial in this matter.
All right, Councilmember Ross.
I ditto what Councilmembers Sunwall and Holloway have stated. As I mentioned earlier, I was attending the council meeting back in 2017. I was not a council member, and neither was Councilmember Shepherd. And numerous people gave her minutes to speak. So she gave a presentation on why there should not be a hotel for about 45 minutes. So I'm not sure that then she can make good decisions based on that. So I think she should be recused.
Thank you. Anybody else, any other member of the public or council member or applicant want to make any challenges at this time? All right, so seeing that, we're going to go ahead and move on with the regular public hearing then and provide for, again, staff presentation. Go ahead,
Mayor,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Under the process set out in the rule, after the challenges have been made, the rule calls for the presiding officer to ask the council member if they wish to disqualify themselves.
Yeah, sorry about that, Bob. Yeah. Councilmember Shepherd?
No, I do not.
Okay. Bob, could you explain that at the end of the day, it's the decision maker's decision. Any member of the council cannot be forced to recuse themselves. They, we can implore that. But again, as I clarified, some of the county council members have more questions on this that are a little more sensitive and pertain to an executive session. So what we're going to do is go on with the staff and applicant presentations, public comment, and then we'll provide an opportunity for an executive session to address this issue further for Councilmember Shepherd's benefit as well. So everybody knows what any legal issues are. So with that, Bob, are we prepared to move on then with staff presentation?
Yes, that's fine, Mayor.
All right. So Mark Hoffman, I'll turn it over to you to do a staff presentation, and we'll offer, again, a brief time for the council to do any, just clarify or Q&A on any presentation from the staff. We'll then get the applicant an opportunity for 10 minutes or so, and then public 2 minutes each for members of the public. Again, I truncated that time at the discretion of the chair due to the time tonight. And then a short applicant rebuttal, and then we'll go into executive session prior to any council deliberations or setting of a special council meeting.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just wondering if it would be a good time to have any attendees that do intend to speak to go ahead and start raising their hands, just so you can get a list going.
Yeah, I'm comfortable either way, Councilor Lissay. Thank you. It'll be a little bit before we get there. So we'll start with staff and the applicant. Go ahead, Mark Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. Given the hour, I will also truncate and read the essentials. In March 2017, the city entered into a development agreement with Chennai Hospitality LLC for the construction of a hotel and retail mixed-use building on then vacant lot 20 of the business park. The approved development agreement was officially recorded with King County on April 4th, 2017. Subsequently, the hotel was constructed as a Hampton Inn and Suites and is in operation on site for nearly 2 years. The associated retail mixed-use building is constructed but currently undergoing initial interior improvements for occupancy. The subject development agreement includes a provision 3C, hotel brand, that requires for at least the first 20 years of the term of the agreement, the hotel shall be operated as a Hampton Inn and Suites pursuant to a franchise agreement with Hilton Worldwide Holdings Incorporated. Chennai Hospitality submitted a January 7th, 2020 letter to the city seeking an amendment to that recorded agreement. The requested amendment to 3C is to facilitate Chennai Hospitality's desire to leave the franchise and operate the hotel as an independent local hotel enterprise, Snoqualmie Inn by Hotel America, maintaining similar room rates as are presently offered and the same or higher hotel quality and service standards. Chennai Hospitality proposes operational standards appended to the draft First Amendment, together with independent performance audits, annual reporting to the city, and a secured cash account as assurance to the city that the independently run hotel will meet the intent and purpose of the recorded agreement. The request was reviewed by the city's Community Development Council Committee on January 21st, August 3rd, November 16th, and December 7th, 2020. The proposed amendment is determined to be a major modification to the agreement, which requires a public hearing with the City Council. Staff has legally noticed a public hearing for tonight, and materials, including written comment emails, have been forwarded to the City Council. The City Administration recommends the City Council approve the First Amendment to the development agreement between the City of Snoqualmie and Chennai Hospitality LLC by motion and authorize the mayor to sign. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. Council, do you have any questions for the Community Development Director at this time? All right. Ann, I'll turn it over to you and those you represent.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, good evening, Mayor and members of the council. As you know by now, I'm Ann Giggy with Hillis, Clark, Barton, and Peterson, and we represent the applicant, Chennai Hospitality, in their request to amend their development agreement so that they will exit the Hampton Inn franchise and operate the hotel at the Snoqualmie Ridge Business Park as a Snoqualmie Inn by Hotel America. As Chennai Hospitality has moved through the process to amend its development agreement, we've heard many questions. For the applicant, we will ask Chloe Ho, Yvonne Gilbert, and Dale Blosser of DA Blosser Associates to address some of those questions. And then I will follow up at the end of their testimony. We have submitted most of our testimony in writing, so our comments will be brief. However, I would like to ask for your permission if we do run slightly over the 10 minutes, but we will try not to. So with that, Mayor, may I call Chloe Ho to make comments to the council?
Yes, please. You can call whoever you'd like with your time allowed.
Okay. Chloe,
Hey,
are you there?
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Song, go ahead.
I understand and respect why, asking for more time.
Councilor Song, I'm going to hold you to the 10 minutes as I'm
Perfect.
short.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Ann.
We're asking for Chloe to come forward and speak.
Chloe, if you could turn your mic on, please. There you go. There you go. Thank you.
I'm ready. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Matt Lowerson. Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Chloe. Before I would like to start. And I would like to share some of our histories and a background of what we have been going through this past 3 years about our hotel. Before the hotel even opened, we had to pay to our contractors who have defaulted with our construction funds. We essentially had to pay 2 times for our hotel. We opened in January 30th of 2019 with only 2 floors. We honored our commitment to Hilton and to the city of Snoqualmie by paying out of our own pocket to finish the hotel and 50% of our Spring Plaza. We received no assistance from Hilton during this time. We had to pay our subcontractors 2 times with more than $3 million. If we did not do that, the hotel could have not completed and it would stay empty. At any point, Hilton actually could come to deflag us at any time, but we honored our commitment to finish the hotel and to open our 99 rooms and a swimming pool to our guests in April 2019. we still have tenant improvement need to do for Honor Coffee in the Spring Plaza, but due to this COVID-19, I will hold on that until this pandemic goes away. I will keep doing my Honor Coffee in the Spring Plaza. By saving, I know we are saving franchise fees by leaving franchise, but we want to reinvest it back to our community by providing more sponsorships and donations to local business. We're not going to build a full kitchen in Spring Plaza because we want to work with local restaurant and caterers and food and beverage in this local area to facilitate special events at the hotel and at the Spring Plaza. And also from my personal perspective, from my heart, it always has been my family's aspiration to develop our own brand, and that on our own brand. I think name Snoqualmie Inn by Hotel America does that and highlights in this special space. Many people ask us why we wanted to leave franchise now, why not before? Well, by the time we decided to become hotel developers, we thought starting with a big name could be helpful. But however, all that changed by late 2018 and early 2019. By the time the general contractor failed to do their job, left with all of our construction money, when we had to pay our subcontractors two times and received no assistance from Hilton, we decided that was not the company we want to work with. And also we want to keep. And also during the pandemic, we kept our door open during the pandemic for essential travelers. Sometimes we only had 2 guests stay in our hotel, but we did not stay on the hotel, but we kept our door open. We did not receive any assistance or we have non-relief from Hilton, but we are keep paying our franchise fees. That's not the company we want to work with. We want to be part of this community and engage with local business and events. We can do so much more to be an independent hotel. Our website and hotel space can be showcase local attractions and events. We cannot do that right now. We hope council will see our investment and your support will be very appreciated. Thank you. Can I pass to Yvonne?
Whoever you'd like.
Hi, good evening. And I don't want to take up too much time because I want Mr. Blosser to be able to speak within the 10 minutes. So I am just going to talk.
You have 5 minutes
Hello?
left.
Oh gosh, real quick. Okay. So again, thank you for your time. Really, I'm just going to get down to my last point is we are not, and I mean we by myself and my team members, management, corporate, we are not going to change who we are. My team and I will continue to demonstrate the best customer service and to take great pride on the cleanliness of our entire hotel. If we downgrade to minimal service, then I'm not doing my job. And my job is to exceed the expectation of every guest that comes through our doors and to obviously make money for the owners. And then in turn, we have higher B&O taxes, LTAC money that goes right back to the city of Snoqualmie. The best advertisers will be our guests, as they are now. And that will happen whether we're a Hampton Inn and Suites or Snoqualmie Inn by Hotel America. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Yvonne. Mr. Oh, I just blanked on the name, sorry.
Blosser. Dale Blosser.
Thank
Hi.
you. Dale, you want to go ahead?
Do you have me?
Yeah, you have about 3 minutes, Dale.
Okay. I think this is a no-brainer. These people are committed to service. And the service that they're going to provide is going to be way beyond what Hampton Inn is going to do. And so, in my opinion, customer service is the most important thing that's happening. And
Dale, maybe I can finish up for you here.
Thank you,
If you don't mind, because there are a couple of points we're short on time. I want to make sure that the council is aware that three topics of accountability have come up while we were before the committee. The topic of what standards would a non-franchise hotel be held to? What was our accountability measures to be meeting those standards? And we have answered those in several ways. One, we have worked to develop hotel standards, operating standards that meet or exceed the standards of either the Hampton or other franchises out there, national franchises. For accountability, we have retained Mr. Blosser, who is a 30-year veteran of the hospitality industry. He's worked for several local hotels that all of you would recognize: Kimpton Inns in Seattle, the Heathman in Kirkland, the Murano in Tacoma, and opened their hotels, sometimes bringing them from franchise to independent status. He has been a tremendous asset in putting our standards together. He is ASHEI, Dale, you'll have to correct me on that, certified, and he will train all of the hotel staff to be certified by that industry standard. And he will perform quarterly performance audits of the performance of the hotel. The Hilton only performs one audit per year. Mr. Blosser will conduct 4 audits a year, paid for by Chennai Hospitality. And in the development agreement, you will see that Chennai Hospitality will also pay for the city to review. We will submit the 4 quarterly reports to the city once annually, because we don't want to take up too much city staff time, but we will pay for city staff or their contractor to review the quarterly reports. There's one caveat to that. If the hotel ever fails a quarterly report, we will give immediate notice to the city and work through whatever that issue is. To back up the performance audits, we have established, or will establish, we've agreed to establish a segregated account and fund it with $150,000 immediately available to cure any defect in the hotel standards or its facilities. And that has to be kept up to date and replenished anytime it is used. That money cannot be spent without the city's consent. And Chennai Hospitality is immediately ready to set that account up. We certainly ask for the council's consideration of this proposal. We will hope for your approval when you come back and meet on this at a special session, and we're happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Ann. So at this time, I'm open to the members of the public, and again, because of the late hour, we have a capacity still left. I'll turn it over to them, and I see Mr. Shield, your hand is up. If we could unmute Mr. Shield. Mr. Shield, you know the protocol. State your name and address for the record, and you'll have 2 minutes, and then we'll follow by Wayne Marshall. Go ahead. Wayne, you're on the deck. Richard, go ahead. You're unmuted.
Richard Shield, 6701 West Crestview Loop Southeast. I would like to point out that although I'm sure that the proponents are very in earnest, stating what their intent is, but 2 years ago, they very in earnest stated what their intent was, and they even put it in writing in a contractual legal document to maintain the Hampton Inn brand for 20 years. If we can't trust, if in 2 years they change their mind and say, oh, we can't do that, what will be next? Will it be a year from now, 2 years from now, when they have yet another change? To me, this is an indication that we can't necessarily go by what their ideas are. So I do request that the council members consider to what extent this is an indication of whether we can trust in these commitments on their part. I realize they've committed $150,000. Hopefully that would be enough. I have no idea if it would be enough. But and unless any of the city members want to become experts in the hotel industry to keep track of whether the reporting is adequate, and I would point out it's reporting by someone hired by the hotel. So that in itself means it's a concern of whether that can be relied upon. Thank you, that's all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shield. Be it noted for the record that Mr. Shield is the husband of Councilmember Peggy Shepherd. Mr. Russell, go ahead. You know the protocol. State your name and record name, address for the record. You have 2 minutes.
Wayne Russell, 8438 Meadowbrook Way, Southeast. Anyhow, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Mr. Mayhew and Mr. Lassay for disclosing their information, because I did see you guys all on the Facebook page. But anyhow, my concern is not with what the hotel is trying to do. It's a fact of what the city is doing by allowing people to get out of franchises and contracts. It seems as though this has happened even with our own building, the YMCA, or community center, Snow King Hockey, and the motel. And I was at the meeting a year ago when the same thing was put up, and it was all about creating their own brand. And as far as I'm concerned, we have enough brands. The Hilton and Marriott and such, to me, are just fine. And I really believe we need to start honoring contracts that are originally written in the form they're written, either that or the people, one of our developers said they're in a learning process and they make mistakes. But we let these people get away with this stuff, and it keeps happening, and they always want to keep changing. And the city allows them. Why do we allow it? We are the people of the city, and we should not be allowing this to happen. So anyhow, I thank you for your time. And anyhow, somebody else popped up there for a second. But anyhow, I thank you for your time, and I do appreciate the disclosure that you folks did. And I really hope the council rejects this motion and makes them live to their original contract. I know many people I have met from up on the ridge really felt like it, and this just sort of rolled downhill to me, and I didn't really plan on participating. Thank you, and I hope you folks have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You too, Wayne. If there's any other member of the public would like to speak at this time, please, again, in the center of the bottom of your screen, there should be a little hand icon. If you click on that, it'll raise your hand and allow us to, the staff, to unmute you first, so you have an opportunity to speak. Going once, going twice, going 3 times, and sold. So with that, I will bring it back to the applicant and give you a 3-minute rebuttal. Ann, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. On the accountability, I think someone commented, how do we trust the auditor? And of course, Mr. Blosser, who is as I mentioned, has 30 years in the hospitality industry and many contracts for which he does this type of work. He is paid to provide a training and a performance audit, and he doesn't receive any additional funding if he does well or not. There's a very simple way to compare his findings to the general public findings of the general public. If we go to TripAdvisor or any of the other major hotel rating systems, independent systems, his comments will have to essentially match with those, or he's not doing his job, and that won't make any of us happy. So we do have an independent way to verify his findings, and he has no reason to try and game the system. So with just the 2 comments, I don't have a lot more to rebut. Thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, I think at this time, we're going to call for an executive session. We'll just go into recess on the council meeting. Those are members of the public or everyone else can just remain on the meeting here. We'll ask the council members and Bob Sturbank, or I'm sorry, I got to get the proper language here for the, Bob, you might have.
Mayor, what's the point of the executive session?
There's a couple issues on the recusal request and on just some legal questions that the committee members often try to ask on comparing the existing versus the new legal question that, in terms of the city's options, that would be best not to, for, again, protecting our legal interest and not having on a public record.
But the bulk of the debate will happen in public, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is just dealing with any questions that might expose the city to legal liabilities. Therefore, it's most appropriate to put it into executive session.
Okay.
So, and again, I'm sorry that it kind of comes in the middle, but we wanted to bundle these together. So at this time, I'm going to call executive session regarding potential litigation pursuant to RCW 42.30.110, Section 1I, triple I. Executive session is expected to last approximately 20 minutes, and I regret that Administrator request that Administrator Rudimecki and Attorney Sturbank also join the executive session. There may be action following. Anyway, everybody else is welcome to remain in the webinar. We'll be back as soon as possible. So with that, I'll ask the council members and Mark Hoffman, Attorney Bob Sturbank, and City Administrator Ruta Metkin to join us in executive session. Council members, do you all have the link for the executive session before we leave? If anyone does not have the link, please remain and get that from the staff. Thank you.
We were actually just watching the end of the football game. You guys thought we were in executive session.
Who won?
Well, if I say that means I was watching the football game.
There's a device for that.
Yeah, I'll ask my kids. I'm sure they'll know.
Well, I wasn't about to leave after all the difficulty getting on in the first place. So let's stick right here.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we have all council members back. I'll call the meeting back to order. The mayor is briefly unable to connect, and so is the mayor pro tem. I'll operate the meeting until his return. Mr. Strabank, if you could help me in our process, I believe we've now are the point at to the point at which we would have council member debate. Is that correct, or is there some other procedural step that we need? You know what? I asked that and I didn't make sure that Mr. Strabank was here.
As I said, I took the LSAT, so I believe that is correct interpretation of what we're supposed to do.
Although I have a comment, I have not read it in yet, so we don't even have a motion on the table yet.
It's just wondering if I should move on to that step. So very good. Ms. Warren, to your knowledge, is that our next step?
I would really need to defer to Attorney Sturbank about any action that came out of the executive session.
All right, we will we'll proceed with that. Let me just turn to this. Hold on. Could we bring up onto the screen the agenda bill 20- I believe it's 116. All right, and just scroll up to where I can see the title. This is Agenda Bill 20-116 to approve the First Amendment to develop the agreement between, approve the First Amendment to Development Agreement between the City of Snoqualmie and Chennai Hospitality LLC, and authorize the mayor to sign. Councilmember Ross.
Okay.
Was there a motion and a second to put it on the floor?
That's what's happening now, Mayor.
All right, thank you.
I'm reading it in. Proposed major modification to the hotel franchise operation requirements of the approved development agreement between the City of Snoqualmie and Chennai Hospitality LLC, recorded on April 4th, 2017, and it states the King County recording number, to facilitate Chennai Hospitality LLC's desire to leave the private franchise, Hampton Inn Suites, and operate the hotel as an independent hotel enterprise, maintaining similar room rates as are presently offered and substantially the same hotel quality and service standards by providing independent performance audit oversight and a segregated cash account as assurance to the city. Move to approve the First Amendment to Development Agreement between the City of Snoqualmie and Chennai Hospitality and authorize the mayor to sign.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second to approve Agenda Bill 2116 as stated by Councilmember Ross. We've already had comments from the public, so I'll just turn it over to the council to see if there's any other questions and debate or considerations. And one of the first questions I may pose is, does the council wish to, given that we anticipated this was going to chew up a lot of time tonight, set a special meeting on Wednesday or Thursday to take this up and spend a more appropriate time on it? Councilmember Sunwell and Councilmember Ross.
Well, as chair, should I make my
comment? Yes, please go ahead, Councilmember Ross, please.
So first of all, the Community Development Committee, we moved the proposed major modification forward to council without a recommendation. And the committee wanted to hear comments during public hearing and consider public input in our final decision. The Community Development Committee reviewed this request during 4 separate meetings this year. During each meeting, the committee noted our concerns, and the final draft of the First Amendment and operational standards documents that you see today, I believe, have addressed these concerns. It allows greater flexibility for the hotel and also provides more quality assurances than the current development agreement. And as you mentioned, if we want to do a special meeting, I can make a motion to table this and have set up another meeting for either Wednesday or Thursday, whatever Jody found out works.
All right. Sounds like you're opening that up for some conversation before making that motion. Councilmember Ross, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, Councilmember Sunwall and then Councilmember Holloway.
So I have a quick question for Ms. Gigi. Is that allowed?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. And question for you, do you know roughly what percentage of revenue comes from business versus pleasure travel?
Councilmember Sundwall, I could not answer that. We would need Yvonne, if she's still on the line. She would probably be the most able to answer that.
Okay. I can probably go without that answer. I was going to try and not show my hand here.
Yvonne is on the line, Councilmember Sunwall, if you'd like her to address that.
I'd like that answer if we can get it.
Yvonne, can you unmute and turn on your video? I don't know if she stepped away or not.
Hi, I'm here. I'm here. I'm gonna, Councilman Sunwall, it'll probably be more on 2019 since 2020 has been the pandemic year. Everything was up in the air. It was not the best year. So for 2019, during, let's say, I'll start with March, April, May, October, November, December. Those are typically like our corporate time frame. May, end of May, June, July, August, beginning of September is a lot of leisure. I would say it was almost 60-40, sometimes 50-50% wise on each.
Okay, thank you, Yvonne. I appreciate that. So I was going to be closer to the vest on this, but I've read enough and heard enough that my number one priority is that hotel stays open. And it is my opinion that the best opportunity for that to happen is for this item to be approved. I don't care what they call it. I wish it could stay as it is, but I want that hotel to stay open. And I believe that that is less likely if they're forced to stay with Hampton. I don't think anyone on this council wants that thing empty with a for sale sign on it. And I believe the best way to make sure that happens is to allow them to change the name. So that is my feeling on the matter.
All right, Councilmember Holloway and yeah, Councilmember Holloway. Councilmember Sunwall, if you could put your hand down. Councilmember Holloway, go ahead, if you could unmute.
All right, I'm on. All right, one, I'd like to reflect back on some public comments that trust has not been broken between the city and the applicant. There's been no breach of contract. I don't know anybody who's ever had a 20 or 30-year mortgage that hasn't refinanced. So there should always be reconsideration at time of these long duration contracts. So we're in good standing. Okay, I do have a couple of questions though. At the bottom of page 4 in the agreement, we kind of cite out the quarterly reviews. The wordage kind of fluctuates somewhat between annually and quarterly. I guess I would like consideration of tightening up that section that we're committed to quarterly assessments. Would the applicant participate in that?
I think Bob Sturbank could clarify what the intent was, and then that perhaps I suspect they'd be happy to clarify it if that intent was not clear. I guess I'll just say from the committee conversations, the intent was to not overburden staff, as Ann Gigi had said during her testimony earlier. They, with working with their consultant, would do it quarterly, but then provide a yearly report to the city, with the caveat that if the consultant in the audit had a failing, the city would be notified pretty much immediately if that failing occurred. Did I capture that correctly, Bob or Ann?
Yes.
Yes, from the applicant's perspective as well.
Yeah. Now, if there's any question on if that language isn't clear, Councilmember Holloway, we could take another. Ann, I'm sure you guys wouldn't object to taking a look at that to
No, and if that can be done just on advisement at the city attorney's,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I trust
that'd
Bob.
be fine.
Well, and you've captured, this meeting is being recorded tonight, and so the intent of that has now been articulated and agreed to. And, you know, if the council chose to vote on it tonight, that could be, again, clarified.
My other question is, in regards to remediation of findings as a result of audit. We have a couple of clauses there which really say we will use that $150,000 put in by the applicant, basically in escrow, to do any remediation. Was there any consideration that if, again, 20 years from now, I don't know who's sitting here on either side of this table, it may be totally different people. If we go beyond the 120-day period and there has been no remediation, and the city has to step in and do it, I would like consideration for a plus 10%, plus 5% clause in there that really puts us into penalty phase for not addressing the remediations. I don't think we'll go there, but again, I don't know who's sitting here 20 years from now.
Ann, do you want to respond, or Bob?
I would have to check with my client on that one. I know that we put in additional, so for instance, the way it works is if the city had to step in and correct whatever the deficiency was after the 120-day period, the applicant would have to reimburse them. I think it's within 30 days. Is that what we put in, Bob? So
yes.
it's covered in that sense.
Agreed, but we're still, we would be spending the applicant's money to do the remediation on their behalf and expect reimbursement. But if we end up in that phase, I think it ought to be maybe a little more than just spending your money to fix it. It ought to be spending your money plus a little bit so that we really don't go there. And I don't think we will, but again, I don't know who's here 20 years from now.
If I have a proposal, if we can, if I can try and contact Chloe while you continue with your comments with that.
Okay, as long as you don't consider me totally off bounds.
And before you do that, I know you did make mention earlier at the committee meeting, I think there was some agreement to, on the question of whether $150,000 was enough if it went beyond that, of a lien on the hotel. Perhaps you or Bob could speak to that if that language was added. And
that language was added.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bob, do you want to speak to that while I try and reach Chloe?
I mean, more specifically, Mayor, if you could repeat the question. Yeah, the language does indicate that, you know, that it needs to be reimbursed within 30 days and that the city shall have a lien against the property until that amount is paid. And that, and I can confirm that the existing agreement does contain an attorney fee provision. So should the city have to litigate its right to reimbursement, it would be entitled to its attorney's fees if it were the substantially prevailing party in an enforcement action.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Councilor Hall, did you have any other questions before we move on?
The only other one I've heard statement that there's no intent to do full service food service. Is that codified in the agreement here?
That is not.
I think the intent is to do full. Like right now, they can't do a full breakfast, and they want to do a full breakfast. So I'm not sure.
And maybe, I mean, full restaurant service, that the food is prepped there, served there, everything else.
As I understand, they were never allowed to build a full kitchen, and as Chloe said, they don't intend to build a full kitchen in the Spring Plaza, which will necessitate them working with local restaurants and businesses to cater events and functions to the benefit of those other businesses. They will have more flexibility to do that under this new contract. Hilton restricts their activities in that regard.
And I'm all for the cross-pollination of the other businesses. My concern again is 20 years from now, I don't know who's sitting here, so if we make the agreement, I want codified that we're not doing full food prep service on site
Oh, I see.
here.
You're saying, okay. All right, you want to codify that at some point, like a year from now, they decide, hey, we're going to build a full kitchen now and not honor that commitment to cross-pollinate. That's your point. Okay, I missed your point. Okay. I'd have to leave that to Ann or Yvonne and those folks to respond to that question.
So, so just to clarify, Mr. Holloway, so you're speaking of a full-size kitchen in the hotel, not in the Spring Plaza. And I understand where you're coming from. Yes, we don't plan on having a full-size kitchen. We probably don't even have the space to do that. They don't even have a full-size kitchen over at the Spring Plaza. Their area probably kind of looks like a, you know, it's got a microwave, it's got those types of things at the plaza. When we do have large functions, whether we can hold 100 people in our hotel or at the plaza, we plan on catering those out. So we'll be going out to our local restaurants and caterers to ask for their assistance in feeding the guests who are going to be at the plaza or at our hotel. We don't have the capabilities in our hotel to do that.
You currently do not. 15 years from now, there could be a new owner who decides to get rid of a banquet room and put in a kitchen.
Okay, so I do understand that. So that's, Anne's on the call with Chloe, but Mr. Sturbanks, is that something we add into our amendment that a full-size kitchen will not be built?
I think that's just his request, and so it's
my request, and the other council members can weigh in whether that's desirable or not. It's.
I guess having gone involved in these things since the days of the planning commission, you always got to be careful, maybe going in too deep into the operations of any business. So okay, they've heard the question, Councilman Holloway. Do you have any others? We'll give them.
That was it.
Okay, so they can mull that over and respond, I guess, at some point. I'll invite Ann, you and Yvonne and others to respond to those as you see fit. Let's move on. I think I saw Bob Jeans, the Councilman Lassay, Catherine Roston, and Peggy Shepherd. Go ahead, Councilman Jeans.
Councilmember Lassay is ahead of me.
Oh, okay, sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
No worries. I guess I want to follow up a little bit deeper on the question from Councilmember Sunwall. If we're talking, 50-50 business versus leisure, or 60-40, I assume that was 60-40 business to leisure, 60% being business. What percentage of that business is local usage? Also with the intent of understanding, keeping the lights on. My read of multiple items in the record is that regardless of whether it's the hotel is named one thing or another, regardless of whether it's with the Hilton brand, local businesses are still going to use the hotel. So I'd like to understand what percentage of that business usage is local Snoqualmie based businesses
or Valley. Just the. In other words, Matt, or as what Councilman would say, I assume like a 7 or 8 mile.
Yeah, that would be correct.
Yeah.
We're talking business travelers that have a contract rate or have a particular agreement for their companies to use the hotel for their business. Is there anybody that can answer that one?
Yvonne, did you want to address that?
Sure. So, Mr. Lassay, are we talking a 5 mile radius within Snoqualmie to Fall City to North Bend, or are we talking Issaquah? I'm sorry.
I'm talking any business that has let's call it a contractual agreement or a agreement to provide their staff to stay at your hotel.
Okay.
That could be Issaquah, that could be Covington, that could be Preston, that could be Snoqualmie, that could be North Bend.
Perhaps the distinction would be a repeat business versus infrequent, travel.
Right.
Sure. Okay. So we have OSI Systems, which is Space Labs, Persona Nutrition.
Let me slow you down, so you don't have to go through every individual business. What I'm asking for if 60% of your business is if 60% of the people that stay at the hotel are business travelers. What percentage of that are business travelers that are directed to you by the companies that they work for?
She has a whole list in her plan.
I understand. I've seen the list.
I think what
I'm saying,
Councilor
what
Lucia is
percentage,
asking, if you were to
what
take the list
percentage of that? Does that mean that of the 60% of people that stay for business are 95% of those on that list? Meaning that they're going to stay here regardless of whether it's the hotel is with the Hilton Inn or they're with Hotel America. Doesn't matter to them. They're going to stay there anyway.
Oh, I understand. Sorry about that. So out of my list, I would say 80%. At least, yeah.
And we will honor the.
I mean, the recommendation letters that have come through from some of our companies said they will use our hotel regardless if it's Hampton Inn or Snoqualmie Inn by Hotel America.
Okay, thank you. I'll have additional questions later.
All right, thank you. Councilor Jeans.
So our decision on what we will do, I think, has some relevance to the history of this property. This was not an attractive lot. This was not an old growth forest that we tore down. This was a non-buildable lot because of the diagonal power lines that run through the lot. There were a lot of potential developers who walked away because they could not adapt themselves to the lot limitations. And Chennai came forward and they said, if you can make some adjustments, if we could move it closer to the street, if we can go a little higher, we'll build a good hotel. And sort of a long story short, after all of these things and we approved it, then the proof is in the pudding. What did they build? They built a beautiful hotel. I have the feeling that it's under good management, it's under good ownership, that they care about it. It is relevant to me that the ownership lives in the upper Snoqualmie Valley, as well as the manager is a member of our community. I had the most concern about the audit agreement that if the Hampton provided good audit service, then I'd want some good feeling about the audit provisions. And I've come to the conclusion that the audit part of the contract is better than we had before, especially with the checks and balances that gives us the opportunity to even bring in our own auditor if for some reason the Blosser audit has some questions for us. So I am good about that. I do have a question. This is sort of the question of the committee who brought this forward. When they made application, they had exhibits A and B, and exhibit B was the Hotel America's key standards, which I thought gave a good philosophical presentation and details about the standards, but we have eliminated that from the application, and I'm curious as to why that was eliminated from the application. And I'll ask maybe Catherine first, or anybody who can address that.
The standards are still part of it. They are Exhibit B, and they're in the packet. And the first one's titled, let's see, Snoqualmie Inn by Hotel America Key Standards, dated July 2020. And it's on page 9 of our packet. And then
I thought that was all crossed out in the adapted version.
You know what? I don't know why that was attached, but it was all redlined out because they changed it. They added in they added the new name in. So that is still part of it. And so in the actual packet, it's not all redlined out. It just was updated with the new name. So that part still exists. And then there's a Snoqualmie Inn operating standards manual that's also part of Exhibit B.
Okay.
So it's all there, and it's so it's there for your reference.
Thank you. That's all I had.
All right, thank you. If you still have your hand up and you've already finished, please put it down. Councilor Sunwall.
I have no further questions.
All right, Councilor Shepherd.
Okay, my question is, do we have an example of a hotel that has gone from, say, a well-known branded hotel to an unbranded hotel, and basically a success story? I didn't see that in all of the documents that we have in our agenda packet, and I'd like to see that.
Ann, I'll leave it to you or Yvonne or Mr. Blosser.
I don't know if Mr. Blosser is still on, but one of the examples that he provided to the committee is that he helped take what was previously the Tacoma Sheraton into a private independent hotel as Hotel Murano. And that has been a wonderful success story for that hotel and its ownership in the city of Tacoma.
Can somebody email the details so that I can look that up?
What would you like as far as the details? I don't.
Oh, the names, so that I'll have them to look up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just whatever examples Mr. Blosser can think of, Ann. It appears he had to leave us tonight. So, Councilor Lissay, back to you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get an understanding of, are we just in the question and answer period here, or are we in full council discussion?
You are in full
amongst
council. You are in full council deliberations right now.
All right, let me get off mute a little bit easier, and I think that did it there. I want to just share with the council members, I've made a number of points and I don't want to take too much time. And I truly believe that the owners of the hotel want to be successful and want to provide, a positive business environment for the community. I've always applauded their efforts to sponsor community activities, clubs, and events. I will always openly thank them for wanting to go beyond what the franchise says the Hilton program will allow. I do want to bring up a couple points to share with fellow council members that I have some concerns about. When the hotel was approved, it was approved with multiple concessions. That include reducing the buffer, deviations from the mixed-use final plan, and increased allowances for stories for the building. The city gave a lot. And I'm looking for what was in return. And if what was in return a healthy business, that's a fair return. And I think what's important to me, and I think what's important to the community members, is that the business remains healthy, that we find a way to maintain the hotel in a good, positive business environment. I think there's some concern about whether this change will impact hotel rates, whether it will be available to community members to have family during holidays or during summer vacations to stay at the hotel and to be able to afford that. We have a 5-star hotel in town, and we know what those rates are. So a 3-star hotel seems appropriate. And so I have, and the Hilton standard really ensures that those rates will be within those expectations of a 3-star. I do have concerns that if these changes are made, that rates may go up. The owners have said that they won't, but there's nothing in this agreement that says that they would maintain rates at a certain level. Ultimately, supply and demand will govern, and that has to be somewhat concerned, because without being within a brand standard, they don't have any. There's no restraints. I'm also concerned that an untested brand from an operator that has no other facilities will deter visitors from staying at the hotel. I'm concerned that people will not be able to find the hotel in the booking engines, even though they may have high reviews and have tried everything they can. There is a large percentage of travelers that will look for a brand and have brand loyalty And I'm concerned that the hotel not having that brand connection will bring reduced occupancy rates. So ultimately, I'll go ahead and say it. Due to these reasons and due to the original agreement of which we signed a contract for, which I remember conversations prior to me being on council, I was on planning commission at the time, that the assurance was that we can allow these concessions. We can do these things to make the hotel successful because it's going to be a Hilton brand for 20 years. Therefore, I'm not in support of the name change and the changes to the development agreement.
All right. I don't see anyone else's hand up at this time. Councilor Ross, go ahead.
He's on mute.
Councilor Ross, if you could unmute, please.
Okay, thank you. So Chennai Hospitality, they made a significant investment in our community. The hotel helps drive our local economy. They hire local employees. They refer their customers to our local restaurants. They partner with local companies for lodging, and they do destination. They have destination types of partnerships like with Dirtfish and others. And this agreement allows them more flexibility, food offerings, being able to do, like this is the management, wine night, reception, whatever. Just more services, amenities. But this agreement also provides more quality assurance capabilities. I mean, looking at, I guess, more quality assurance standards that are equal to or better than what the current development agreement has. And if you stay with the Hilton, I don't think you're going to get that. Here you're going to get quarterly audits and you're going to receive information on it annually. And if they're non-compliance, you're going to find out right away. They're not going to wait for the end of the year and then submit that and say, hey, there's a little problem there. They're going to submit it right away. And then there's a whole process of where they have to correct it, or we will pay for it out of the $150,000 that in the special account. There's all different types of recourse that can happen. So I support this. A 20-year agreement. I am disappointed it's not going to be Hilton, but yet I think the city will be more safe having this type of agreement with Chennai Hospitality. And so I'm going to support this. I do want to state for Councilmember Holloway's comment that I don't agree that we should include that there should be no kitchen. I think that's up to Chennai Hospitality if we want to add a kitchen down the road or not. But anyway, that's my 2 cents.
All right, thank you, Councilor Sumwell.
Yeah, I have a question for either Yvonne or Ann. So get ready to unmute Yvonne. I'll just be blunt because that's what I know how to do. How long can you guys stay in business under the current agreement?
That perhaps is more of a question for Chloe. She represents her father, who's the owner.
We're going to keep our doors open. We are going to keep our doors open. The family is committed to serving the community, whether it's one guest in house or 30 guests in house. They are not making any money, but they are committed to this community. So we're not shutting our doors. Yeah, closing our doors.
Okay. I maintain that the most likely opportunity for this hotel to be around in the 20 years that Brian was saying he wouldn't be, is that we allow them the flexibility that comes with operating without out from under the onerous financial requirements by this. I think it would. I appreciate your honesty Yvonne, whoever that was, it would have been very easy for you to try and get a vote by saying you wouldn't be able to last very long. So I appreciate that. I also think that might be rose colored, or there wouldn't be, you wouldn't be asking for this. Businesses, no matter how committed they are to community, can't stay open if they don't make money.
Thank you.
Yeah, Yvonne, you're the only hotel, to Councilmember Lasay's point, kind of a 3-star, 3.5-star, whatever it is, between essentially east of Issaquah and west of the Snoqualmie Pass. So I guess my assumption is that not only that sort of repeat business, local corporate or the residential market that repeats itself on a regular basis, in addition to the fact that it's an offering, a rare offering, and one of the only offerings in that price point in this region or whole service area, that more than the Hilton or Hampton driving business to your hotel, it's its location, it's this destination of the spectacular valley, or its proximity and convenience to many local businesses. So is that an accurate statement?
That is correct. Yes, it is. To what Councilman Lasay said, we're not the Salish Lodge. I know enough to not raise our rates to $300. We don't have the Snoqualmie Falls in our backyard. That is one of the, and they're a lot different. They're kind of that resort destination. We want our hotel to be a boutique hotel that can still serve corporate clientele and our leisure guests at a decent rate. My rates will not drop below $100, but they will not go as high as Salish Lodge's $400 or $500. Now, last year, during our busy times with Jack and Jill Marathon, were we selling $239, $249? You bet, and I got that. Okay, so that supply and demand, it was there during the summer. But I've been in this business long enough to know that, if I'm running 5%, I'm not going to drop my rate to 100, but I have a, reasonable rate out there. So, that I know that this hotel can warrant.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to add a couple more comments. I've made clear in the last couple of weeks, particularly with the name change, I am enthusiastic about my support for this change. I think it's important to note the history. Some have referenced it, that in a past administration, the amount of retail that was zoned on the mixed-use final plan for Snoqualmie Ridge was cut in half, and that left down the road the demand for retail completely deficient. And the only way we could cure that was to go across the parkway. And the developer in the business park did not want to drop the commercial properties, but would accept additional retail zoning on top of that. We had no guarantees that would go retail. So one of the incentives in that was to allow retail to go into the buffer along the parkway. Commercial had to stay behind that buffer. So it was not a concession of the city that the buffer, it was actually an incentive that worked quite well, particularly on a lot that was almost unbuildable. We were ecstatic to get a hotel because, as you know, we're trying to build our economy around a tourism economy, since we don't have big box retail. The other consequence of going across the parkway was because the largest need that we had was a full service grocery store. That whole side of the parkway went auto-centric. And by virtue of that, unlike the core retail center and center that was neo-traditional, we intentionally didn't do drive-throughs and others that encouraged a local mom and pop business, knowing that having that would create greater risk for failures when you don't have those franchises that come in. But we didn't want to be a cookie cutter community with the same businesses in everywhere USA. So we've always accepted that risk. On the other side of the parkway, however, it all went with franchises: Safeway, Mod Pizza, Starbucks, Bartell's, the Hampton Inn. So I'm frankly excited. Once the community development committee did a phenomenal job improving and addressing many of the community concerns around the standards here and the success issues, and embedding those in these contracts. And once that was achieved, and in conversations with Chennai Hospitality, they were very understanding of the need to change the name. And by the way, they're very receptive to addressing different logo concepts too. The one that you've seen in the concept is concept only. But I think that this actually gives us an opportunity to have something that's more coherent with the balance and the vision originally conceived for Snoqualmie Ridge, having a mix of that local, a little bit of brand businesses to be anchors. But and frankly, when we want a hotel to not only be there for those overnight guests to drive tourism, but to actually promote tourism, the idea of giving them more flexibility to actually promote Snoqualmie and Snoqualmie Valley on their website in the hotel, to me is very exciting too, which Hampton just wants the generic pictures and all that. So I see a lot of upsides to this. At the very least, it's equal to, and I've had the benefit of getting to know the whole family in greater detail over the last couple of years, and have great respect for them, and feel they're people of great integrity and commitment, and really impassioned and excited about their investment in this local community. So that's my two cents worth. Councilmember Holloway, I think you were having your hand up again.
Well, the only comment I didn't want to inadvertently disparage the hotel. Moderately priced and star rating are two different things. I view this hotel as better than a three-star hotel, but it is a moderately priced hotel. So let's not confabulate those. This is a pretty nice facility. I'm done.
All right. I didn't see who else's hand went up first. I have. Or Yvonne, did you want to make a comment quickly, and then we'll get to the
Chloe, Mayor Lorison, it's Chloe. I want to add, I understand business cannot survive if keep losing money, but we survived. Our entire family, my team and my management team, and even my housekeepers are support. So we survived from the big general contractor bankruptcy. We will survive. It's painful with this pandemic, but we will survive from this pandemic. And I'm sure the vaccine has come to Washington State, and this pandemic will go over by next year. And we will be very successful and famous because our location, not because we're at Hampton, because our location, because our location is Snoqualmie, and with all the Snoqualmie attractions. So we'll be very successful. We will survive from this pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Shepherd, Lassay, and then Jeans.
Yeah, I noticed that Hampton Inn and has a new product that they're providing with their hotels, where people are working from home. They're offering space for people to work from the Hampton Inn. They have office spaces where they can work from the local Hampton Inn. And I'm hoping that we are allowing them to be able to try to get creative as far as being able to support their business. So I would support that flexibility to allow them to do that.
Thank you, Councilor Lassay, and then Councilor Jean.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to again emphasize that I think we all very much appreciate, I'll even say it this way, the business savvy that Yvonne has been able to accomplish through some tough times. I think the the Chennai family and their dedication to having the hotel here and putting the commitment into having it is very important to note. But I also think that as a community, we have to be able to, make sure we have some backstops. And without a major hotel brand, we don't have any backstops. We have the word and the commitment of a family saying that they will spend the money. We have the group saying that they would stay in business regardless of whether the name change happens. So is it really an issue of business? It continues to tell me that it's not an issue of business. And that makes me concerned, because not having the backstop of a major hotel brand, if something were to go wrong, could put the hotel at risk in the future. That's just the bottom line. I think we need to consider that stronger.
In the spirit of round robin, I'm going to go to Councilmember Mayhew first, then back to Councilmember Jeans.
Well, I'll just say, council members, we've been at this for between 2.5 and 3 hours here. I don't feel like I'm hearing anything new, nor do I feel like I have for a while. Maybe it's time to get on with the vote. But that's all I have to say.
Well, why don't you call the question, which is what I was going to do.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes. Go ahead, Bob.
sorry, just as a housekeeping matter, I think the council has moved there, but wanted to make sure that you indicate that that the record is closed. The public hearing is closed at this point.
Oh, okay, thank you. I probably missed that. Yeah, I guess I missed formally closing it, so I'll note for the record the public hearing is closed.
Chair, I asked some questions that may change, try to have structural changes to the agreement. I'd like to hear a response on those before we move to vote.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I was thinking that too. Anne, did you have any chance to chat with Chloe or in response to some of Councilor Holloway's questions?
Yes, I did, Mr. Mayor. And Chennai Hospitality would be amenable to including a 10% penalty if they go beyond the 120-day default cure provision. So we can add that.
Okay, and I think
that Yvonne addressed your other question, but
well, and I think, to tell you the truth, Ann, I don't think, and the rest of the council give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't view that I had support in asking for a restriction on the kitchen. So let's take that one off the table.
It was never on.
Okay. Did you want to, Ann, is that a commitment to add the 10% provision with you and Bob would work that out and work that language into the agreement so the council would understand that if they were voting on this and approved it, that would be incorporated?
Yes.
Okay. Councilor Holloway, is that sufficient?
I trust Bob.
All right, thank you.
And Bob, we trust.
All right. I'll leave it up to Councilor Jeans or Mayhew to maybe make another motion here.
So if I may speak, so we've had incredible input from the public in the form of emails and web input and the public hearing. We have heard from, I think, maybe as many as 50 people. Well, I'm aware of 50 or so people who I've read their materials. On the plus and the minuses, I mean, we have don't have unanimous among the public. We've had a very vigorous council discussion. I call the question. I know we have the opportunity to.
Second.
Yeah, you should call the question. You keep talking.
Question has been called and seconded. Again, this requires a supermajority vote of 5 in order to pass, and then further debate will cease if approved. All those in favor of calling the question, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, the question has been called, so now we're back to the original motion on the floor, and we will go to an immediate vote. All those in favor of the applicant's request, say aye.
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 Chair, point of clarification.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Applicant's request with noted revisions.
No.
With with the noted revision of the 10%. Yeah, correct. Okay, all those. Let's do a roll call vote, or just Councilor Ross.
Yes, aye.
Councilor Holloway.
Aye.
Councilor Jeans.
Aye.
Councilor Sunwall.
Aye.
Councilor Lassay.
No.
Councilor Shepherd.
No.
Councilor Mayhew.
No.
All right, motion passes 4-3. All right, thank you, Council. Congratulations to Anne, Yvonne, and Chloe, and look forward to working with you quickly in the next few weeks to move things forward. With that, Council, we need to move on with a fairly full agenda. Would anyone like to make a motion to extend the meeting past 10 o'clock tonight?
Move the extend the meeting past 10 o'clock.
Second.
All right. Have a motion and a second to extend past 10 o'clock. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Anyone opposed? I think I only heard 2 no's, so sorry.
They count as 4 though.
He wasn't serious anyway.
They weren't serious. Yeah.
Dead serious.
All right. Let me get back on track here. I think we're back up to the, at this time, we've got a lot of tenacious folks hanging on. This time we open it to anybody from the public that would like to comment on anything is not on the agenda tonight. So nothing you see on the agenda tonight, that's when it's relevant to just make any comments. Oh, actually, before we get to this, one thing we didn't do was, I don't know if Mike Bailey's still hanging on.
Mayor, they decided to postpone that.
Okay. That's unfortunate, but okay, that's fine. We'll recognize them next or January. So with that, I'm going to open it to any public comment for any items that are not on the agenda. And given the late date, I'm going to limit that to 2 minutes each. And I'm not going to go through the protocols. Just state your name and address for the record. Be respectful. This is not a time for debate from the council. They're just there to respectfully listen. So again, any members of the public, for some reason, Bob Sturbank's in there. Go ahead and raise your hand at this time. You'll be recognized if you'd like to speak to something that is not on the agenda. All right, seeing no one's, oops. Bob Jeans, you had your hand up for some reason?
No, I'm sorry.
All right, so moving on to the consent agenda. All items listable will be enacted by one motion. Action items include minutes for the November 23rd, 2020 roundtable and city council meeting. Other approvals include Agenda Bill 2111, Resolution 1566, ratifying the proclamation of emergency for a parking plan issued by the Parks and Public Works Director. Agenda Bill 2110, cancellation of council committee meetings regularly scheduled for December 21st and 22nd, 2020. The December 28th, 2020 council meeting and board commission and committee meetings scheduled for the weeks of December 1st and December 28th, 2020. Do I have a motion, council?
Move as stated.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve as stated. Any further discussion on any of these items, council? All right, seeing no one put their hand up, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. All right, so as this is the new protocol and procedure, we'll immediately take up items that were taken off the consent agenda that approves the approval of warrants. Can I have a motion, Councilmember Mayhew, to approve the warrants?
Move to approve warrants, claims and warrants as presented.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the warrants as stated by Councilman Mayhew. Is there any discussion? Councilman Mayhew, go ahead and speak to this item if you like.
A report to the council that as per the procedures approved by the council during the COVID emergency, the F&A committee has reviewed all claims and warrants. A number of items were questioned by committee members. They reported receiving satisfactory results, and the committee recommended approval as the claims as presented.
All right, thank you. Councilor Sunwall.
Move to call the question.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to call the question on this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Those opposed?
That was awesome.
Motion passes. Back to the original motion. All those in favor of approving the warrants say aye.
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 Those opposed?
No.
All right, motion passes 6-1. Moving on to Parks and Public Works Committee, Agenda Bill 2112, ordinance adding chapter 12.06 to the Snoqualmie Municipal Code relating to snow removal from.
Point of order, Mayor, are we not on the F&A ordinances? Are we doing a different order?
Were they agenda consent?
Sorry, maybe I'm confused. Apologize.
Well, I'm sorry, my notes, I have that. Let me see what.
We always do Park and Public Works unless it was a consent item.
Yeah.
On both the regular agenda on my notes, after consent time, and the first ordinance is Parks and Public Works.
Eric, you're going according to the agenda. Keep going.
All right, did I miss something or?
No.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you.
The agenda changes. I have one printed out earlier today.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. Moving on to ordinances, Parks and Public Works Committee, Agenda Bill 2112, ordinance adding chapter 12.06 to the Snoqualmie Municipal Code related to snow removal from sidewalks and providing for severability and effective date. This is only for introduction tonight. We'll be ready for action on January 11th or possible action. However, are there any questions from the council or for staff at this time or discussion? Councilmember Shepherd.
Do I need to read it in?
Oh, yes, please. Thank you, Councilmember Sunwall.
Or is this just introduction?
Just read in the introduction, not the motion.
Okay. I'll read the summary statement. Responsibility for snow removal on city sidewalks is that solely of Mayor Larson. Oh, no, that's an earlier version. Responsibility for snow removal on city sidewalks is not defined in Snoqualmie Municipal Code. This ordinance will obligate the duty of the sidewalk, snow, and ice removal to the residents and/or property owners immediately adjacent to them.
All right, thank you. Again, this is for introduction only. Is there any questions or comments from at this time? Councilor Shepherd, go ahead, and then Councilor Mayhew.
Yeah, I was looking this up in MRSC, and one of the points that they brought up that we don't address in this legislation is assisting elderly or disabled residents. Shoveling snow is a physical, strenuous task. A combination of physical strain and cold temperatures can increase the risk of heart attacks, particularly in older individuals, not to mention the risk of injury from slips and falls. Elderly or disabled individuals may be physically unable to shovel snow, in which case some jurisdictions maintain lists of volunteers who can assist them. I would like to add something about this concern into, I am for this bill, except for I'd like to address this concern.
All right, thank you, Councilor Mayhew and Councilor Ross.
Yeah, I have similar concerns about provisions that the city's making for those who may have difficulty doing this. And I think, in prior snowstorms, it has taken me a week to find someone to come, a contractor to come and clear snow. Some of the snowfalls are so heavy that to attempt to do it on your own without a machine may be very impractical, may be dangerous. And I would also like to know a lot more about how what sort of liability we are adding, if any, and to residents, and what kind of time frame we ought to be giving them to make provision to mitigate that liability. So I have a bunch of questions about this. Don't need them answered tonight. Just wanted to put them out there so that maybe when we take this up at our next meeting, answers could come to those questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilor Ross and Councilor Sunwell.
So I initially brought this up to Parks and Public Work Chair and also Director in January when a resident emailed me, and she has a disability causing mobility issues. And so she was having issues just walking around near the retail stores on Snoqualmie Ridge because a lot of the sidewalks were not shoveled. And so this came about because of her question. And one thing she did point out is besides sidewalks, you also have the ADA cutouts that go to the streets. And usually that's a dumping ground for when the plows go by, you get snow there. Or she was finding that, or people will be shoveling and not clearing that area. And so I don't know if we should, I think we should consider making sure that the ADA accessible sidewalk curb cutouts are included in that. Or maybe there's already some type of regulation that you're not supposed to, that those should always be open. And I think the other thing is, why 48 hours? Should we look at 24 hours?
So I think I'm next and I can answer a couple of those questions. So I proposed 24 hours. I was called heartless and no, I wasn't. 48, I think 48 is there. Correct me, Matt or Brian, if I'm wrong. The idea of this whole thing is not to create an enforcement environment. This is about to clarify a question that comes up every time snow falls from the sky in this community. And it also creates a potentially for insurance companies and for insurance claims to be made, draws a line in the sand of where responsibility is. Whether you're disabled or not, you still are a property owner and you're still responsible for it. It may not be you that goes and does it. You may have to hire somebody to do it, but it's not so the police chief can go out and collect the $50 fine. This is simply mostly as like a lot of what the police do here is just let's educate, right? And inform people what the responsibility is and do your very best to have it cleaned up. And that's what the purpose is. That's why I didn't get wrapped around the axle on whether it was 24 or 48, right? Because that's not the purpose of this. It's sort of like our parking thing where you can't be parked for more than 24 hours, which is sort of ridiculous because if I go on vacation and I'm gone for 4 days, I could technically be towed. That's not what this is about. This is about just helping people understand where their responsibility, if not sort of moral responsibility, is to get stuff cleaned up. But we can take all these questions back. If you have additional questions, Jim and others, we'll take this up the first Tuesday of January, and we'll do that. And we'll come back with something a little bit cleaner next time.
All right, Councilman Lasay.
Yeah, I'm just going to add to that since Sean gave me the opportunity to say something. And that was exactly it. We weren't trying to define 48 versus 24 hours. It was really, and I think even in the comment I believe I made was that you only have to go more than 24 hours once before you'll make sure you do it within 24 hours. Because as we all know, our snow turns to solid ice when it sits overnight over a freeze and thaw cycle. So, if we want to go some more specific and narrow it down, certainly appreciate Councilmember Shepherd's comment on having some leeway of accommodation and maybe some opportunity to let people know there are options, and maybe there are some volunteer groups that would be open to that. But we do want to make sure that we do put in place something to remind folks that says, hey, you just got to make sure you take care of your snow.
All right. Councilmember Sumwell, did you have your hand?
No, we can move on as far as I'm concerned.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yeah, the only point that I wanted to make is that I think that the fine of $50 could be $25 on working in another city where they didn't have snow, but they had to keep grasses down for fire. The city would go out and cut grasses if the property owner didn't do it, and then they would bill the property owner for the service the city provided. And I think that even if it's a small penalty, I think it'll get their attention and they'll probably look for other ways of dealing with it.
Yeah. Thanks for everyone's feedback. Again, if you have more, be sure to let me know, but the three of us know, and we'll take it up first Tuesday of January and get something a little tighter.
Great. Any other, I assume, yeah, again, there's a lot more opportunity for at the next council meeting in January to discuss this further, and the committee as well. So I think for the sake of time, unless there's any objection, we'll move on. Any other report for Parks and Public Works Committee?
No, that's it. Thank
you. I'm sorry, that's for reports. This is ordinances. Finance Administration Committee, Agenda Bill 2105, ordinance establishing rates for the city's combined utility for the years 21 to 26, amending Snoqualmie Municipal Code sections 13.08.010, 13.08.090, 13.10.050, 13.12.0.10, and providing for severability and effective date. This again is only for, this was introduced on in November on the 23rd and was ready for action tonight.
Move to adopt ordinance number
1242.
Establishing rates for the city's combined utility for the years 2021 to 2026, amending Snoqualmie Municipal Code sections 13.08.010, 13.08.090, 13.10.050, 13.12.010, and providing for severability and an effective date.
Second.
All right, motion and a second as stated by Councilmember Mayhew. My apologies to the public on the prior agenda bill, which you'll have an opportunity at the next council meeting to speak at. I didn't provide that opportunity, but I want to, at this time, is there anyone from member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to possible future action? See no hands go up. Councilmember Shepherd, go ahead. Councilmember Shepherd, you're muted.
Okay. So the only reason that I'm opposed to this is because we're going to be talking about this again in January about changing the rates for 2021. So I would like to put this off until we have a final decision for what the rates will be.
All right, any other discussion or comment at this time, council? All right, with that, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay.
No.
All right, motion passes 6-1. Moving on to Agenda Bill 2106, ordinance amending the 2019 to 2020 biennial budget, end of the biennium amendment, and providing for severability and effective date. Again, this was introduced on the 23rd, is ready for action tonight.
Move to approve ordinance amending the 2019 to 2020 biennial budget and provide for severability and an effective date.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 1243 as stated by Councilmember Mayhew. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? Seeing no one's hands go up. Council, any further questions or comments, concerns at this time? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay.
No.
All right, motion passes 6-1. Congratulations to Robert Drew and the staff on the hard work on this. I'd say more, except the hour's late. I want to keep moving. Moving on to reports. Parks and Public Works Committee, Agenda Bill 20113, Resolution 1567, accepting the 2019 sidewalks repair and replacement project as complete.
Working on the 29th, never mind. Move to adopt resolution 1567, accepting the 2019 sidewalks repair and replacement project as complete and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve Agenda Bill 2113 as stated by Councilmember Sunwall. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? All right, seeing no one raise their hand, Councilmember Sunwall, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just say to probably stem some questions that might happen. We are not done repairing sidewalks. This phase has been completed. Many more to come, but great hats off to the department for getting this done. And excited to see what the next series of sidewalk repairs will bring downtown and on the ridge.
All right, any other questions, comments at this time, council? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes unanimously. Any other reports for Parks and Public Works? I believe you said no.
We do not.
All right, Community Development Committee, Agenda Bill 20116, approve the First Amendment to Development Agreement between the City of Snoqualmie and, I'm sorry.
We did that one.
Any other? Yeah, did we do that one?
And no other report.
I can't remember. Okay, thank you. Finance Administration Committee, Agenda Bill 20114, Collective Labor Agreement between the City of Snoqualmie and the IAFF Local 2878 Fire 2021.
The International Association of Firefighters Local 2878, the fire union, represents the uniformed firefighter employees of the Snoqualmie Fire Department. The current collective bargaining agreement between the city and the fire union expires on December 31st of this year. City administration representatives and fire union representatives met weekly beginning in August 2020 to negotiate a tentative successor agreement. A red line strikeout copy was attached to the agenda bill. Due to economic uncertainty from the COVID-19 pandemic, the tentative agreement is for 2021 only. Move to approve the 2021 collective bargaining agreement between the City of Snoqualmie and the International Association of Firefighters Local 2878 and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Agenda Bill 2114 as stated by Councilmember Mayhew. Let me see, I'm blanking. Who's the chair of this committee? Jim, did you want to start to kick this off or say? Go ahead.
Yeah. Did you want to take any public comment, Mayor?
Oh, thank you. Getting rummy. Yeah, any member of the public would like to comment? If we could unmute Richard Shield, please. All right, Mr. Shield, go ahead.
So Richard Shield, 6701 West Crestview Loop Southeast. This comment actually applies to both this agenda bill and the next one, which has to do with salary adjustments for the management and professional group. I believe that all of these folks, and especially the firefighters, we really support them. We want, we appreciate their service and all. But at the last council meeting, I believe it was last council meeting, when the council passed the updated property taxes, one of the things that you put in there was that we are in extraordinarily difficult times. We had to say we couldn't take just the property tax increase that would have normally been due to the very low cost of living or inflation increase as determined by the state, that we needed to go to the full 1% and then add on top of that the banked amounts. So now we're coming to two approvals for giving 2.5% raises. I think most people everywhere in the state, everywhere in the country would love to have 2.5% raises. Right now, I think if we are in such dire circumstances as a city, then we need to hold the line and say, no raises for now. And hopefully we can make it up when the world gets better economically. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shield. Anyone else from the public that comment at this time? See no one else's hands go up. Councilor Mayhew, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll share with the council that in discussion at committee with administration. So I won't go through refuting the points that the points are just made with were false. I think you all recognize them. But what we did do with this budget is we passed a budget that did not allow for cost of living increases. The challenge that administration has is that our different unions are on different cycles, and we have two unions who have COLAs built in for this year in their contract, and they were unwilling to give those up. So what the administration has done is, and that was something that weighed heavily on the firefighter union's mind. It weighed heavily. I won't speak for the firefighters union. It weighed heavily on the administration's mind. So here's what, consistent with the commitment that they made to us, the administration has said that they are going to cover this COLA with other cuts so that they will not be asking us to raise the budget, the appropriation. So it is a COLA that was not planned for. They're going to make up for it with other cuts. They are looking through exactly what those will be. They have shared with the committee some of the things they're looking at, but they don't have a specific plan yet, but they will be sharing it with the council early in the next year. We were, I think, I don't know if satisfied was the word, but we heard the commitment from the administration they would live within the appropriation, which, as a reminder, the thing that we have that many surrounding communities do not have is we had a rainy day fund, which we approved when we approved the budget for next year, that 600,000 of that rainy day fund would be used. If this isn't a rainy day, I don't know what is. So they're sticking with the budget they asked us to pass. And if you have further questions about that, you can ask. Obviously, the city attorneys, or sorry, the city administrators here ready to answer questions. But really, at this point, they're working on what the specific steps will be. They'll be coming back with those to us early in the new year, but they are absolutely committed that they will fund this through other cuts.
Sorry about that, was muted. Councilmember Jeans and Councilmember Summerall and then Shepherd.
So this matter came before the Public Safety Committee as well last week. And the council members on that committee vehemently opposed to the cost of living increase, that it was not in keeping with the city's commitment that we've got to tighten our belts, especially during this next year, 2021. But we also took testimony that indicated in doing some comparative shopping with other police departments that our police department was lagging behind others. And so I don't know what the appearance is, but in any event, so I would still be against the cost of living increase, but what Jim Mayhew said is it will be made up later. I mean, it's sort of the honor system. I would go ahead and approve this, knowing that the budget is not going to be impacted beyond what we've already approved. But I'm just very concerned about it. But I'll agree with that on the basis of Jim and the administration committing to making other cuts. Thank you.
Point of information, Mayor? If I could, I believe Councilmember Jeans, when he referred to police, was intended to refer to fire.
I'm sorry, yes.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember Summerall and Councilmember Shepherd.
Yeah, I echo what Councilmember Jeans. I believe what the firefighter union asked for is completely tone deaf. But at the same time, we need our firefighters, and the administration has figured out a way to make this essentially cost neutral, which I'm grateful for. I would also like to comment, this is primarily to Chief Phipps and his organization. I make no delineation between the integrity and the awesomeness of our fire department and the police department. There is no especially in my mind. The fire department and the police department, I know it's popular in this cancel culture to call out police departments, but to me, there's no especially with fire or police. And I love you guys all equally, and thank you for what you do for our community.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Summerall. Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes, so during the meeting, we did not get what the comparables were for other fire departments. So I looked up the IAFF Local 2878, and I found their collective bargaining agreement that was good for 2018 to 2020. And the terms that they've had for some time now is that they should reflect the urban wage earner CPIW, the June of the previous year to June of the current year for the Seattle Tacoma Bremerton Index. And trying to look that up, I wasn't completely successful. However, I was able to find Seattle Tacoma Bellevue CPIU for June. The percent change for 12 months is 0.9%. So short of not being able to find what this CPIW is for the Seattle Tacoma Bremerton, I would like to know what the status of the negotiations or the contract is for East Side Fire and Rescue, and find out what their COLA is.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Councilor Megan.
I would just additionally share with the council that as most of you are aware, we have struggled in our contract with the fire union to have a comparable wage, and while we have felt, I believe on this council, that we are near to that, it has generally been acknowledged that we are not there. There's also some issues with the number of work hours, which of course, when you look at the number of work hours, and then you look at salaries, that sort of all becomes one equation. But the number of work hours is an issue between what our union has negotiated with us and what they have elsewhere, and what is generally done elsewhere in our area. So there's a lot to be negotiated in this contract, and looking at a longer term contract next year is when they're really going to have to grapple with a lot of those things. But certainly there would be no idea that somehow this contract with this COLA is somehow putting our union, somehow ahead of what's happening elsewhere. There's still some structural things to look at. I think the real struggle here that the administration has had, and I'm sorry, I hope everyone can hear me over that background noise, but the struggle that we're having is.
Councilman Mayo, if you could hold, if everybody could mute who's not speaking, just to whatever that background noise is coming from. Go ahead, Councilman Mayo.
Yeah, so the struggle we have is we're in this emergency. We're digging into our rainy day funds. I think is, Councilmember Sundwall used the term tone deaf. It's very hard for any of us to kind of understand the notion of COLAs when in fact many fire departments in the area are laying off, they're losing people, they're giving things up. But at the same time, that's also against a background. So it's a very complex thing. I don't think any of us are, but I don't think we should sort of simplify this down to just one thing. I sort of poked in at the Kelly Day number, and this is all sort of a package deal. I think many of us on the council, I won't speak for others, but are frustrated that we're looking at a COLA during this time that our unions haven't worked with us. But next year we'll be looking at all the unions, and this is when we'll have to have some hard reckoning on this, including looking at what happened in surrounding communities and how the unions worked with those communities to deal with this COVID crisis. So for what it's worth, I think that the administration is, it seems clear that they're very focused on this, very aware of it. This was something, it's a one-year contract. There's a bunch of other provisions, seemed like an appropriate thing to do at this point.
All right, thank you. Councilor Ross.
So we were told for the budget that there would be 0% COLA, but there's not. There's 2.5%. And the agreement with the additional Kelly days brings us in line, the firefighters' wages more in line with their peers. And so that's important because we want to retain our firefighters. And then the fire department also, I mean, they bring in revenue and they're working on other ways to add revenue. And so, you know, that revenue should be used to offset what the $37,000 or $36,000 increases, as well as I know Mr. Rudimitkin is also going to be working diligently to reduce the cost so it does not impact our budget. So, but I think overall, it's, you know, to me, it's important that our firefighters are paid similar to all the other departments in our surrounding area. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and of course, the intent, as you were just mentioning with new revenue, not only to pay for these increased costs, but we need to also tackle, find new revenues to get ourselves off of depending on any kind of use of rainy day reserves as fast as possible, especially if this is a longer term recovery. It just makes no sense to keep dipping into that bucket only to find yourself in the same place, having to make some pretty hard, difficult, ugly decisions. So. All right, I don't see anybody else's hand up, and so I assume that maybe that's wrapped up the conversation. So we'll go ahead and go to a vote unless there's anybody else. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
No.
All right, motion passes 6-1. Moving on to Agenda Bill 2115, 2021 classification rates and salary schedule for management and professional positions.
The Management and Professional Salary and Classification Plan was implemented on January 1st of 2006. Mayor and the city administrator are recommending a 2.5% salary adjustment be applied to all management and professional positions, and steps be in line with the 3 bargaining units salary adjustments for year 2021. Move to approve the 2021 classification rates and salary schedule for management and professional positions.
Second.
All right, motion and second to approve Agenda Bill 2115 as stated by Councilor Mayhew. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? And I'll just recognize that Richard Shield already said his comments also pertain to this agenda bill. All right, Councilor Mayhew, go ahead.
Just share with the council in discussion at committee. What this is doing is giving, so our 3 bargaining units, the Teamsters, the police, and the fire, are receiving COLAs for 2021. Their contracts all end at the end of 2021. The average is slightly higher than 2.5%. 2 of the unions are at 2.5%. One's a little higher. This would just keep our M&P folks at the same 2.5%. The same commitment has been made by administration with regard to the appropriation. That is that for 2021, they will fund these additional amounts, this 2.5% increase for our M&P folks. They will fund it with other cuts. It will be expenditure neutral to the budget that we have passed. They will not ask for additional expenditure. They've similarly, and perhaps a little bit further along, they have shared some of the specific cuts that they're making. They're looking at things like taking positions and perhaps combining them. I mentioned that only, we don't know the specifics, but I only mention that only to point out they're talking about things that are permanent. So permanent cuts to fund what is a permanent increase. Once we increase the base, that's a forever increase, right? So it is matched up. And they're again going to come forward with to us with a specific plan, but they have committed and are well along on their planning for how in 2021 this is going to be with no additional appropriation requested from us. And again, their focus is 2021 is going to be a year of tough negotiations, and M&P will have to follow along with that, and they're really going to have to dig in and deal with the recession that we're now in. And we don't have enough rainy day funds to keep doing this any farther, so they are completely focused on solving that, and they'll share more with us in the new year as to exactly how they're doing this, but the administration is firmly committed. This will be done without asking for additional appropriation.
I just want to make sure we often talk about the COLAs on an annual basis, and as far as percentages, 2.5, et cetera. But when you add up all of the labor groups now, the 4 labor groups, the price tag, they're not getting to a zero COLA year, was an additional $323,000 in cost on top of course, the lost revenues and whatnot. So to Councilor Mayhew's point, we will be, that's why it's going to be some tough decisions that we're not going to be increasing the budget expense items. We will be reducing other costs according to of equal measure altogether. Okay, I don't see anyone else. I think, I don't see anyone else's hand up at this point, so I guess everybody's ready to vote. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay.
No.
Nay.
Okay. I think I had 2 nays, Councilor Holloway and Councilor Shepherd. Did I miss anyone? All right. The motion is approved, 5-2 vote. All right. Any other report for F&A committee?
No further report.
Public Safety Committee report. Someone has to unmute. Public Safety Committee report. Any other report?
I don't believe we had one. I don't know where Bob went, but I
All
don't believe we had anything else.
All right. Any items for committee of the whole? I don't think we have some. For sake of time, I'm just going to blow back and by that in case anyone strongly protests. I think everyone's too tired for any other announcements or whatever. The executive session that was on the agenda, I believe we covered everything that was pertaining primarily to the hotel. Bob Sturbank, am I wrong? Is there anything else?
No, you're correct, Mayor. That was just a placeholder for potential use during the hotel discussion, and you've already invoked that.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. So that said, unless any staff or anyone has anything to bring to my attention I missed, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Yeah, motion and a second to adjourn tonight's meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Anyone opposed?
I wanted to say no. I really did.
You can.
Happy holidays.
Motion is approved. Happy holidays, everybody. Enjoy the rest of December with a little time off. All right, thank you all. Thanks for all the hard work.
Always, everybody.
I try to say more flowery stuff, but I think we're all too tired.